because of the roster immediately. Power rankings, TL, #1, it was kind of obvious for a lot of people because of the star power. But this team of great players doesn't seem like they're completely championship ready just yet, and they need to use the last 2 weeks here to start ramping up.
Well, we've talked about it. We'll see what happens here in Champ Select. Sion and Azir banned away by TSM. Xayah and Galio banned by Team Liquid.
I like the Xayah ban here, but Skarner still on the table. A lot of people still leaving that Olaf up, and still Ryze as well.
Yeah, I mean, just a lot to think about. That's often the case as teams figure out what picks are the best. Taliyah will actually be banned away from Pobelta.
Yeah, that's a bit of an abnormality here in these pick bans, because we're seeing a lot of bans just go to these standard champions, and now there's a lot of power picks left up that the desk was talking about even after that last game.
Yeah, certainly respecting the prowess Pobelta has on that champion. Both teams at least somewhat respecting the global power of some mid laners here, and Gnar will actually be the last ban here by Team Liquid, so kind of cutting Hauntz's recent champion pool in half.
Yep, trying to say, all right, you're either playing Camille again or you're doing something else here. GP, though, we just saw it as well.
I mean, Camille without Galio also a lot worse, so I think
True.
Liquid really smart with their selections on this red side ban.
Especially because in the last 4 games, there have been 2 Galio games from Bjergsen, and now he's going for that Ryze once again.
Well, this is the problem, right? You said it, Ryze. Left open in this situation, a very potent champion on this patch.
Yeah, he became incredibly powerful. He was already seeing pro play as like the #2 or 3 mid laner behind Azir, but he jumped up to be a lot of people's #1 after the changes to the AP itemization. The Archangel staff giving 20% CDR is just bonkers for him because he has much earlier access to spell slinging.
Well, it's just been power picks kind of traded here in these first few phases of the draft. Varus and Skarner selected by Liquid. Olaf already the hover for MikeYeung. They will now lock that one in.
Yeah, considered the counter like we've said before, but the Varus, this gives a lot of bottom lane pressure to Team Liquid with the Xayah banned away. Tristana may be there for Sven, but Sven has played 4 Ezreal games in a row, so he's been focused on safety instead of dominating the lane.
Good call on the Gangplank, by the way, as that is the selection here for Hauntz. Kind of curious to see teams fall back to that champion a little. We thought he was kind of pushed out with the changes, but apparently not.
Yeah, the nerfs to him were mostly for that lane phase, the value of the Q, costing a little bit more, and so on. But still, seems like Hauntzer favors that carry top lane style. Even though they talked about MikeYeung, you know, he kind of was born in the carry with the Nidalee and such from Phoenix One in his debut last year. But they're still going to go with Hauntzer, playing that tank, or playing the carry up against Impact, who's definitely going to favor a tank.
Yeah, I mean, just takes Cho'Gath here. Pretty straightforward stuff for him. Very solid laner, has a lot of good utility with the Feast, and is a super duper tank once the game pushes forward. So Liquid now, we'll see what they have for this next phase of bans. Kog'Maw apparently on the minds of Liquid as they take that away from Sven.
Yeah, I'm actually going to, harken back a bit here. Remember back in the day when Cho'Gath first came out as this top laner, it was actually as a counter to Ryze in the top lane. It came out and because Ryze was at that point where he could actually perma-root you, and it was like, what is this top lane Ryze doing? He's just shredding Maokai's and whatnot. And then Cho'Gath became the answer with the silence. So the Ryze has to play within that range where the Cho'Gath silence in team fights will definitely affect it. So I like this pick here from Impact in the top lane, especially since there isn't really other hard CC so far drafted for TSM. You don't have things like a Maokai for gank assistance. It's going to be trying to slow him down to get ganks on that top lane. So Impact, I feel like, is pretty safe.
I think so as well, and I like the Caitlyn ban also from Team Liquid, taking another AD carry away from Sven, kind of removing maybe some of his more comfortable or lane dominant options. Orianna, though, will continue the trend of mid laners banned against Pobelta, trying to insulate this Ryze.
Yeah, the Cassio would be the normal counter pick that you go for and try to just beat the Ryze in lane. We saw Phoenix do it, but it wasn't successful later on in the game. And I don't think it'll be the Zed. The Anivia actually super good.
All right, I like it. Anivia here for Pobelta. This has been picking up steam.
A lot of steam. It's been played a little bit inside of the Academy League, and I really like this pick. Anivia, personally, is probably one of my top 2 most hated champions when somebody really plays that champion. It's Anivia and Zilean. They disrupt the game so much, and with the changes to Archangel staff, the 20% CDR also really helps her. So building a tier early, we're going to see that here from this Anivia. We're going to see a lot of disruption.
We're also going to see Ezreal number 5 here for Sven.
So I was about to say, he's played Ezreal 4 games in a row. This will be his 5th. And in the last 4 games, Mythia has played 3 Braum, 1 Tahm Ketch. So now it's 4 Braum.
Well, certainly Tahm Kench maybe not aggressive enough for what we're expecting in the bot side from Team Liquid. Thresh is locked in for Olay. Not willing to give up any sort of kind of 2v2 power there in the lane.
And they want to have pressure in the bottom lane. Bjergsen said, you know, it's expected they're going to play through bottom lane, especially with this top side of the map looking the way it is. Playing to bottom seems really smart here for Team Liquid because they've drafted around it, but TSM, they have to see this coming a mile away.
Well, they did, and they take the safe pick of the Ezreal here. Sven's certainly been comfortable on it recently.
But I've always talked to some, bottom laners, especially people like Piglet, and they hate Gangplank. They hate playing against it because it affects your lane in the bottom lane. You're winning 2-on-2, GP ultimate comes through. This isn't fair. It's like, oh, this is a 3-on-2. It doesn't count. And that is something that when GP is in the meta, people who love to carry from the bot lane absolutely despise that champion, and TSM have it up against Doublelift.
Certainly, I like that aspect of the pick here, but the draft is done. Kind of a fun one between these two as the coaches will shake hands. Anivia making her appearance for the first time in a while, at least this year. Lord Froggen blessed us many a time last year.
True.
Not around, unfortunately, to bust that one out here. And like we said, both these teams certainly in the hunt for more wins. They've only 4 games left to play, including this one. So every win matters to give yourself the best possible playoff spot.
And it's important for TSM because if they lose here, TL has a 2-0 tiebreaker against them, and that means that it's even riskier, or it's harder for TSM to lock in their playoff spot 100%, whereas TL, it would almost guarantee it. Just a few more things need to happen.
Well, we'll see what happens in this game, as that's all these teams have right now. My favorite part of how hyped this crowd is not just the energy they're bringing, but they're smart enough to coordinate chants alternating so they make sure their team gets in there.
Yeah, they have to breathe. Let's go in that spot. But hold on, Impact, he spotted him. He's going to walk right out.
Oh, touched.
Wait, whoa. He flashed as well. I don't think he was going to have that stun procced on him, but he still just says, all right, not even going to take a chance there.
Afraid of the Winter's bite from Mithy and his Braum. So a flash picked up early by TSM as they pressure forward with their team. Wards, though, going to hang around the red buff here, so good early vision for Team Liquid. Sort of the trade-off here, as Pobelto also doesn't juke that one, but he's more than safe this time.
Yeah, but that means I don't think he has enough time to go back and regen that HP, so he'll start the lane off down about 100 HP. Yeah, it's down about 130, so we'll see if that makes a difference here. Those small things do add up, especially, talking about small things, the larger thing is that top lane, that flash from Impact. Mike Young, he's going to start on his blue on the top side, and we'll see what he does from there.
Mike Young probably thinking that is a simple lane for him to walk towards, as Xmithie will be spotted here on the red buff, and is actually a blue buff start here for Mike Young, so Tia will get information through its absence. We'll see exactly what Mike Young wants to do pathing-wise right now, just very efficiently kind of kiting between these two camps, popping that passive, does smite the Gromp, and off to the races here for Olaf.
Yep, Olaf purposely wants to get low in the jungle. It increases your attack speed because of his passive, and that means that your clear time goes up, and it's much faster for you to actually get through the whole jungle.
And again, remember these two teams had quite the battle last time. It was the opening match, the season opener between these two. And TSM said themselves they were not prepared. Liquid smashed
There was a
TSM.
single kill for TSM. TL ended up smashing through the bottom lane. It was incredibly quick, too, in terms of the game time. But that one kill, that single kill, is the big thing there. It was picked up by Bjergsen, and it was really just a play through the bottom side. He said that, you know, they play through Doublelift. It's obvious. But last time, it was obvious, and it still was able to roll over the game.
Yeah, they've had 7 weeks to learn. We'll see if they have. As TSM looking to even up that score here in the season. Hauntzer. Barrel combo down, gets some damage onto Impact, but Impact is not too worried. Just happily sitting in his minion wave, pushing this lane in towards the Gangplank.
Yep, Hauntzer just going for the farm, making sure that he can scale up. And has that Kleptomancy on top of it. So the GP still a very potent pick, and like we talked about before, it's mostly to affect other sides of the map and make sure that Sven and Mithy can have ways to affect these fights later and make sure they don't get rolled over, because it was the strat last time. Also, pretty effective against both Anivia and Varus, because they have to kind of stand in that ultimate and then get out. Low mobility carries really dislike playing against GP.
Yeah, there's a lot of good disruption for both sides here between kind of Anivia and all the disruption she can add. Even Cho'Gath, you mentioned before, with Silence and, of course, Rupture. And one other thing to note here is jungle timings do change a bit with Predator. Both junglers have already gone back. They've got boots, and soon enough they'll have that cooldown ready and might look for that first early gank.
Yeah, you back after you do a full clear. You don't look really for a gank. It's just about getting your boots and then making that next gank higher percentage of actually landing. Bjergsen already a bit low on mana, but
I mean, can get back easy if he wants to. Curious exactly what he wants to do with his early buy, but right now I think just feels comfy in the lane. We'll turn that into a tier soon enough and can TP back if he swaps that out with Unsealed Spellbook. Pobelter on the other side, Comet plus TP. As Xmithie gonna get spotted by MikeYeung with a red buff. Olaf, so good in 1v1 duels. Pobelter getting tied up pretty literally by Bjergsen as he roots him down. Now Bjerg gonna walk forward, has more than enough mana to try and pressure, and Pobelter almost gets himself egged here as MikeYeung still continuing pursuit in onto Xmithie.
yeah, just kind of tying him up here. Of course, the Xmithie, that Spire is his. He's just like, all right, you can't take my Spire, that's fine. Try to fight the Skarner on the Spire. I feel like you don't want to do that, whereas the mid laners are fighting for priority, and the junglers are fighting over this Raptor camp.
Red buff is one off as well. MikeYeung still pressuring, does get true damage down onto the Scorpion. Xmithie though with this clutch smite finds the big one, takes that Raptor away, so MikeYeung will retake the Spire, take his bonus 15 gold, and I guess walk away.
Yep.
Walk away to topside, but
Now he gets to kind of
Impact
set
already
things
knows.
off. Exactly. Impact already knows. Impact gets to back up here. Won't be ganked. The Predator was actually used by both of them, so doesn't have that available to go for a gank. And Xmithie just immediately to the other side of the map.
Here's a TP in from Hauntzer Sheen, and I like this one. Interesting coin pickup here for Hauntzer. Just trying to get a bit more gold. Maybe expects to be shoved under that lane. No, Zale's a big fan of this one. Where's he when I need him?
Yeah, it's mostly, I think, like it got buffed to have
Yes.
movement speed on it, and then it has gold generation. So it's just like gold per 10 is very important.
Again,
Cannon minions always drop coins as well, so if you miss cannons, it's not that bad.
it is kind of interesting, but I think Hauntzer, again, just kind of insulating what Gangplank already wants to be doing. Targon's Brace did get nerfed, I believe, in this patch, so not as attractive an option. So again, just trying to make sure he gets his farm and guarantees gold, because he's only going to get stronger as the game gets later. And right now, looking good, sitting even in farm is kind of where you want to be as Gangplank.
Yeah, and especially when you just constantly have gold generation from the coin, it means a lot, because you get to that breakpoint much sooner. You spend gold on it, but it ends up paying you back. And with CDR, that's huge too, because then you can just use your Q, get more gold. It kind of just ends up being this cycle where the lower the cooldown, more often you get that parlay gold, and then you feel really good about purchasing that item. Something that Nasus also does was purchase the coin. Of course, it's nerfed on Live on 8.5. There was a hot fix to these items that no longer has Bandit on them. And the Bandit passive is still here, so every time he Qs Impact, he'll get that extra 10 gold.
Yep, certainly worth the investment here. Hauntzer has been no stranger to Gangplank this season, and Impact does find a nice Rupture for a knock-up, but Bone Plating procced. Hauntzer staying nice and safe, and kind of slowly hitting up his minions, getting his parlay stacks, collecting his Klepto gold, and just generally doing pirate things. Bjergsen starting off this blue buff for himself. MikeYeung here with the assist. Has the tier and 2 bits of that catalyst already done. As looks like we're just kind of settling things kind of back down, Zyrene. Going to be a bit more of a farm situation for these next few minutes, perhaps.
Yeah, and so I'm looking at the runes right now. It looks like Impact in the top lane actually has Precision Secondary, which is Overheal, and then he also has Legend Alacrity for more attack speed. So making sure he gets all of those E's off. Xmithie going for the top lane. Ooh.
Flash from Hauntzer, but Xmithie's level 6. Pops his ulti as well. Oh, we got tagged. Now there's a flash in for the stun. Oranges, they're trying to wait it up, but the silence could just be the problem. Great knockup there as well. There's the suppressor. MikeYeung is too late. First blood over to Impact.
Here comes Bjerg.
We're going to try and make it a turnaround here. Impact kind of caught a little too far forward. Going to run down by MikeYeung with a root lands in for Bjergsen. He'll get the kill. And a trade back and forth.
Yep, so it ends up being 1-for-1. There's no assist on the back of that top lane kill, so Hauntzer ends up not getting anything for it. Goes over to MikeYeung instead. So that GP, not in a fantastic spot up against this Cho'Gath that ended up picking up that kill.
I think good patience here from Team Liquid, just kind of
Yeah.
waiting out. And at some point, Haunt's like, yeah, I just can't use my oranges anymore.
He uses it here, where it's like, he's basically stunned, suppressed as he's putting the orange in his mouth, because he's like, you know what, I have to do it now. But it's just definitely too late. And even if he had used it earlier, he's going to get stunned up and he's going to get suppressed. So it's a lose-lose situation. And then Bjergsen with the roam. That's really what matters there, because that would have been a straight 1-for-1 or 1-for-0 in favor of TL, but then Bjergsen having that priority really did make a difference.
Yep, also kind of hanging out in mid lane for a little while, covering for Bjergsen, who's picked up a very early Quicksilver sash.
Yeah, he got that kill, and then he also has a CS advantage in the mid lane. So he has Tier, Catalyst, and he has that QSS. Whereas you look at the inventory of Pobelter, he's just got, nope, Catalyst and the Tier for now. That's a lot of gold that went into that item, but Bjergsen, he can afford it right now. He's 20 CS up.
What a hook there from Olay. Actually finds Sven, who shifts out now. Stun's going to land in. Olay going to eat damage from
Olaf
the
on the
Barrage.
side.
Damage still there. I think Olay's going to be a little too low, but the Ignite from Mithy cleanses it off, and now Mike Young is going to try and chase them down. He needs to secure a kill. He flashes in. He wants Olay. The red buff's ticking down. Not enough. Sven flash order. He is going to grab it.
He flashes to secure that kill. Mike Young throws an axe right after, but it was just to make it 100% that Olay ends up dying for that. So Mike Young helping out a ton being on the bottom side.
Nice work so far on the Olaf as Impact. Getting a bit of extra security here to take down the Scuttle, but watch this 2v2 again.
This is started off by TL. Olay lands the hook on Sven. Feels like it's going to be great, but then he gets stunned up, and Olay takes so much damage there. I like this little move where Doublelift moves forward, thinks he can bait Mike Young towards him, and then takes the Lantern, but Mike Young wasn't going to bite on that one, and ooh, almost. So he flashes to get that auto as Mike Young throws out that last Q.
Yep, skill shot not needed as Sven does secure that kill for himself.
It's important that the AD carry gets it, though, if he wants to have lane pressure there. TL are going to try to answer by taking this Mountain Drake as the recalls come through.
Will get it, so nice use of this recall timing now by Team Liquid as they take Mountain Drake for themselves. Looks like Infernal is on the way next, so certainly some pretty high-value Drakes to try and play for. As Sven returns to lane, has his Tier, building towards that Manamune, which will eventually transform. And of course, Pickaxe plus that Sheen, so looking good as Doublelift is kind of in that one awkward spot for Rageblade AD carries where you just don't have a Rageblade yet.
Yeah, you don't want to back and get the Blasting Wand. You want to stay in lane and keep them in lane long enough that you have the full Rageblade completion gold instead of just backing for that last component. That's where it feels really bad. Here, it's kind of, he's already got adaptive AD instead of having it change to adaptive AP once he buys the Blasting Wand.
We mentioned Bjergsen already, still with a CS lead, although it's just 10-ish as he shoves the wave and looks to maybe roam.
Yeah, right now you see TSM are actually ahead in gold in top, mid, and in the bottom lane. So pretty much all their lanes are set up right now. It's just that Skarner from Xmithie that has a little bit more gold than his counterpart. So he has to find ways to extend that. And you can see he actually didn't go for the blue smite. He went for the Skirmisher Saber here so that he's just going to have more fights against Olaf. It allows you, as the Skarner, to win those fights more often than not, but it makes your ganks a little bit weaker.
Well, see, Impact is just trying to farm back and forth here. Does have quite a bit of gold to spend, but Haunter already finished his Trinity Force just based on all that farm he was able to get. And the CS is quite even, so as you can see, he's up a few hundred gold versus Impact just based on the power of Gangplank alone. A little help from that gold regen item, and now things get much more simple for Haunter, though. He's going to face check Impact and Xmithie. Knockup does land. Haunter with his flash, burns the ulti once more. Xmithie on the hunt. Haunter looking to maybe flash to safety, doesn't want to have to use it, and doesn't.
He doesn't have it for 4 more seconds. It's coming up right now, as you can see in the bottom left corner. Now it's up, so the fact that he gets away from that just barely is huge.
I was tricked. Good timing by TL on the flash, but still not enough to secure the kill.
Yeah, because they used their flashes to get him last time, and so it's like our flashes are about 10 seconds, 15 seconds off. So repeat ganking, very good. But also that Rift Herald, it interrupted that. So they went for a pick in the bush because Haunter was walking into it. It disrupted them killing that Rift Herald. So Xmithie's going to have to take more time there, and that gives Mike Young an opportunity to go to the other side of the map. Maybe hand this blue buff off to Bjergsen and steal it away from Pobelter.
Yeah, Xmithie's still on that Rift Herald, so could be collected here by TL. Haunter is going to check. Rift Herald's going to go down. Yeah, Haunter checks a little late. Maybe could have stole it or at least done some damage, but bot side is where the pressure is going.
Yeah, and the fact that Xmithie spent so much time on top side, that means you can just pressure on the bottom side here. And you see Doublelift and Olay have to play back. They have to play scared. And they're at those weird kind of recall timings like we were talking about. And now TSM are threatening, now that they had that blue buff control, for a dive to finish this turret off and maybe get these 2 guys on the bottom side.
Mike Young on the hunt, pops the Predator, looks for Olay, can't get out of this at all. And the kill goes back over to Sven. Bjergsen trying to cut off Doublelift, but he burns his flash in defense. Still, first turret over to TSM.
Yeah, TSM now with that 3,000 and a little bit of change gold lead. They're going to have to answer TL on this other side. TL going to get that mid turret, though. It's not the first turret. TSM just got that bottom, but TL will even it up.
Yep, TL walk back to the store, collect their change, and gold lead's going to shrink just a little here as turrets are at least equalized. Still, early advantage over to TSM as they're the ones to make the proactive play.
The fact that they divided the sides of the map here was very important. TSM got to play to that bottom lane, and that went over to Pobelter there.
Yep, blue buffs, I think, traded now between the two mid laners as each one is kind of stolen over. Yep, Bjerg does have the TL blue. As Sven, once again, going for Trinity Force here with a Phage sitting next to that Sheen. So maybe feeling that he does need to be dishing out more damage. On average, I think Ezreal, when he can, loves to go this item. And
yeah, I believe in those last 4 games where he had played the Ezreal, he actually doesn't contribute too much to the damage. Sven doesn't. It ends up being a lot of Bjergsen and Hauntzer in those games. But the Ezreal gives Sven a lot of safety. And ever since even back on his days on G2 and Origin, it was about making it to that mid-late game, right? It was about having those team fights where he really shines. And so far, they've been able to crack the bottom lane, open it up, and now they have this advantage on this AD carry. So Sven, we're looking for him to push his advantage further as opposed to kind of stall it out and wait for fights, which has been something that TSM has kind of bitten them before as they make that mid-late game.
yeah, I mean, we also see kind of the same sort of story for Team Liquid as well, always playing through their bot lane. Doublelift does not have a lead here in this lane, but he does have a Rage Blade, so we'll see if he can make use of that very good one-item power spike out of the Varus.
A lot of this has been junglers and which side of the map they're on. You can see both junglers have 100% kill participation. Really nobody else on TSM does. We saw 2 go down in the bottom lane, but it's been MikeYeung, Xmithie versus each other. Bjergsen said, hey, he thinks MikeYeung has the advantage because he's unpredictable, and Xmithie is pretty standard. Without vision, it's much harder for him to play around the jungle. So far, it's kind of been what it's looking like. Xmithie's making some choices that end up being head scratchers and trading a bad side of the map.
Yep, certainly been pretty relaxed. Otherwise, Venge is kind of taking the kills as they get gifted to him. Bjergsen had that one roam, and Hauntzer's playing Farmville. Is down on the bot side, Impact.
Yeah, he's in a long lane with no turret. They're TPing the Anivia to try and save him.
And Bjergsen's like, all right, now what do I do to get out of this? Impact says, you do not! Hauntzer's going to try and get one down there. They're going to look to fight onto Pobelter. True Shot Barrage is going to hit, but Pobelter does manage to flash it still. Impact could be in trouble, forced to flash away from the Rise.
There's so much going on there. Pobelter TP's in, flashes away, and so does Impact, but they only get the flash out of Bjergsen. So that's 3 summoner spells for 2 at the end of the day, favoring TSM.
And the timing works out so nicely here as well. Infernal Drake is up for TSM. So sculpting this play very nicely. And look, magically 4 people down here make it 5 as Mithy rejoins, and that second Drake, and maybe the bigger one as well, Infernal, over to TSM.
Yeah, if only it were Magic Pastry. It's the pro play where everybody figures out exactly what they're going to do. They ran across the map to make that happen after TSM had actually shoved the top lane. So TSM were really playing for that Drake.
Certainly nicely done. As TSM still hold about 3,000 gold up in the lead. Still, Team Liquid haven't fallen further behind, at least in recent minutes. Still looking though for a little bit more. Trinity Force on the way for Sven. Has quite a bit of gold banked up, so shouldn't be too far away. And like we said, Hauntzer still chilling down in that bot side. Looks like at least Jarum's Fist up now, and maybe that Sterak's for a bit of extra safety.
Yeah, the Sterak's is big because it also increases your base damage, which then synergizes with Trinity Force. So the Sterak's Trinity combo actually makes it a very large Trinity Force hit, which then empowers your barrels and your wave clear, so it's no longer the crit gangplank from before, except for later, you get like a PD. But your first 2 items are health, survivability, and having those massive base damage.
See, this is why I'm glad you're here, because I actually did not know that at all.
Yeah, because Trinity Force, it doesn't multiply like the damage that you buy, it multiplies your base damage, right? It does 200% more, and then Sterak's increases your base damage, and so that's how it factors into the Trinity Force.
Now I just think you played too much, Camille.
Yeah, actually.
Too much analysis of Trinity Force.
That was actually why. Like, I wonder if this is actually worth it. Just get big, nice, big Precision Protocol #2 kicks in.
Oh, look at that Trinity Force for Sven. Oh, hello! Catch a hook there from MikeYeung in the Ragnarok. Feels good, man, as Olaf. That TV, yep, cancel that one away.
It's another teleport off a swift play from TSM that gets canceled from TL, and that's going to be that turret getting pushed down, and I don't think there's an answer here. They aren't in position from Team Liquid.
Sometimes it's just a little too fast and or furious as TSM able to take down that top turret. 2-1 now as they lead the turret score and keep growing that gold lead. Team Liquid, we've seen this story kind of out of them before. If they don't get an early lead, they do tend to squander the game away.
Yeah, but they do have a lot of wave clear. Trying to push and end a game against an Anivia is always rough, but right here, Impact looking for Bjergsen, who has no flash. Got him with the tip.
Rupture comes in, there's a stun land, but he actually QSS out of it very quickly. Bjergsen gets the shield back with a combo, and here's a surprise. Hauntzer, Pobelter, oh, he doesn't get the Q, dodged out by Hauntzer, who's continuing to do damage.
And everybody's just running around trying to get there. Mithy used his teleport, and then he swapped it for Cleanse. He was like, all right, here comes the TP in mid lane to maybe join. He's like, okay, canceled, throw in a new summoner spell.
Mithy has certainly been really good, actually, with kind of the Cleanse TP combination using the unsealed spellbook. So good heads up play there from him, but support not necessary as Hauntzer and Mike Young were both in reserve there for TSM. Hauntzer again is continuing to build up farm. It's been quite a slow game. Yes, TSM have kind of masterminded some good plays. They've picked up that Infernal Drake, they've got the turret lead, they've got the kill lead, but the pace of this game certainly feels like it just favors TSM. They love to play slow, grind out the game, and take more sure things than not. They're not a huge risk-taking team, at least from what we've seen this split. And again, from what we know about TL, I don't necessarily know if that's where you want to be sitting. I mean, playing defensive against a defensive-minded team like this season's TSM feels like you're playing into their hands a little.
Yeah, TSM, they like to enter that mid-game with a gold lead. So if they can get an early lead and then just keep kind of banking and investing and getting larger and larger with that lead, that's where they really excel. When they have even games in the mid-game or late game, that's where it really falls down, that clutch decision-making and who can make those plays in that pinch. That's really what's bitten them before. The TSM have looked good in the second half of the split for sure. They're 3-2 in that second half of the split. And they beat Echo Fox, dropped to 100 Thieves last week, mostly off of those late-game decisions, not going exactly the way they wanted to, and team fight execution. So entering the mid-game with a 4,000, 5,000 gold lead bodes well for TSM.
Well, certainly does as action continues. Mountain Drake up in 1:45. Sven, I think, thought about a recall, but decided against it right now. TSM, I think, just resetting the map. Starix is finished now for Hauntzer, and Sven has 1,000 gold banked up, so maybe he doesn't quite have an item to go just yet.
Yeah.
Jackson also working on his Archangels, so it doesn't quite have that done either. Went for the safety of the Abyssal Mask first.
Yeah, the Archangels is about 100 away for Pobelter to fully stack it, whereas Bjergsen, he's about 30 away from stacking his tier. And then you look over at Sven, and he's already got his Muramana, so that is a big power spike for him. That 2-item spike for the Ezreal is huge, especially when you convert the Manamune.
And you can see for Doublelift, he's down more than 1,000 gold at 1v1, still searching for his second item in that matchup. So that early pressure that Mike Young, I think, deserves the most credit so far for this early game for TSM. Just was in the right place at the right time, set up the plays with his team. And, you know, Bjergsen notwithstanding, roaming around, kind of using his ult effectively, it's Mike that's been involved in all those kills, making sure things go exactly to plan for TSM. Maybe Bjergsen was right.
Yeah.
Tracker's Knife not needed.
Not necessary. Less wards makes TSM better.
Thinking emoji. There's a bit of wave clear action here in the mid lane, like you mentioned. And Nivea is a frustrating champion to siege against, so TSM say we're out of there.
Yeah, you have to pull her out and kind of like get her to take on these fights that you really don't want to take. But right now, the Mountain Drake seems to be what TSM are posturing for.
Ooh, Nithie into the wall. Stands behind Mike Young. Gets himself through that one. Wants chilling out. Slap on a control ward. Stun lands on a Mike Young. Knock up there for the Rupture. Ragnarok pots. Oh, the wall is very nice. There's the Barasolti. Combos it all the way in. And Mithy going to get caught on the front lines. As now Sven taking damage. Gets himself out with a shift, but still 4v5 for TSM. They're trying to battle back. Poke is nice from Haunter, but it's not enough to do a big enough chunk to Pobelter.
But that's still one kill going over. Mithy gets chunked out, and they got some summoner spells on top of it. So TL with a little bit of an advantage here. He's Mithy, skirting around. Maybe going for that Mountain Drake here, but both junglers are still up.
Bjergsen also with TP ready, has swapped over, kind of paid through that spell book and found something else. Here's another TP, and I think this is Haunter. Oh, no, it's not. It's Mithy again.
Who is it?
It's someone. We'll figure it out in a second. It is Mithy. There he is. Mountain Drake, they're looking to go over to TL. Smite from McSmithy secures it. Mithy. Mike Day again. TP's into Doom. No. QSS flash out this time as the stun into Impact is going to gift over a kill to Mike.
And That may be TSM. They have some health bars on Hauntzer and Bjergsen. Is it a power play to go for that Baron? Potentially. They don't want to go in mid lane and have this Anivia just wave clear against them. Bjergsen just sitting here.
Certainly is a power play, but is it the right play for TSM at this juncture? Looks like the answer is not yet.
It's too risky, and Mithy, he's not able to find that ward that's right over the wall.
Yep, unfortunately, his little ward that he put down is not going to see it. Instead, Xmithie will pop that Scry's Bloom and see him as Doublelift, who's never met a creep wave he didn't like. Going to take this out here in the top lane.
That's such a great way to put it.
I mean, look, it's been around for a while. Love him or hate him, Doublelift's identity is firmly etched into the history of the NALCS.
I mean, he's behind still, but at the same time, he's still doing well. I mean, the Ezreal will have extra gold being printed from the Kleptomancy, but he's only 700 gold behind overall. Right now, TSM, they found the ward, they swept it. Now they're on that Baron. Impact doesn't have TP, he can't get there to contest it.
Are they going to check Xmithie's here? He does have his flash.
He has a flash and a blast cone to get over.
All right, we'll see what he tries. Xmithie lining up for the steal. TSM trying to be patient, but controller
is it a salute? Is he going to go ahead and sacrifice himself?
Gotta be careful. Xmithie again waiting. Just
is he going to go in?
Too patient. Oh no, it's the smite over to Mike Young. Able to get it. Now Impact is trying to find a team fight, but not going to get it. Very tense 50-50, but Mike Young finds the smite onto the objective.
That was incredibly well done from Mithy. Mithy used his ultimate, which interrupted Xmithie from possibly taking the blast cone here. Watch Mithy on this Braum. As he goes around, he's going to cast the ulti. That stops Xmithie from getting in there using the blast cone. And by the time he flashes in, it's taken right before that.
Just a few frames probably between that one being a 50-50 or not, but well played TSM as they do collect the Baron and keep themselves up very far ahead. 7,000 gold as finally the Anivia can get moved out of mid lane and they'll take this outer turret.
Yep, with that Baron buff, just going to push down. You can see Braum actually has a QSS himself. He's still respecting the Skarner on top of it. And now Mithy, I believe that will go into a banner later since he has that Raptor's Cloak. So this first Baron, he may not have it in time for that. No, he does have 1,000 gold, so we need a little bit more for that banner.
See if he needs it. He's certainly going to get the gold as TSM just rampage down and take 2 turrets. Mid, outer, and top tier 2 now collected by them as Baron recall his channel, but then cancelled as red buff over to Hauntzer. Mike Young able to gift that steal over to his top laner.
Bjergsen posed the question, you know, if bad TL shows up, then it's going to be a stomp. If good TL shows up, we're going to have a fight. And his biggest criticism was when TL falls behind, they don't know exactly what to do. Right now, they find themselves down 8,000 gold in this game at 26 minutes. They do have wave clear, and they do have 2 Mountain Drakes, so they have to find ways to navigate this, or else TSM, like Bjergsen said, it may just be one of those stomps.
Yep, might get worse as well, because that banner you were thinking about is now completed by Mithy, and he's used it in the bot lane. Powering up that big old cannon in a minute 30 to try and get to this 2-2 and try and break down more. Saw this play from Optic last game.
And there's no minion dematerializer on anybody on Team Liquid's side. There's one still for Mithy. He still held on to one just in case. But looks like they'd have to just go ahead and force onto this cannon minion or just let it take objectives.
Even if he could, though, probably wouldn't give it to Team Liquid, so he'll hold on to that one for himself as TSM look to continue this siege and break down some inhibitors, perhaps. Hook lands onto the Baron minion. Not bad, actually.
Pulls it in a little closer. Maybe can get some Varus damage on it, but still, TSM are defending it, and they're poking back.
Yeah, Bjergsen and Sven, actually a lot of poke impact, taking maybe too much damage for someone that's supposed to be a big tank. Banner, though, does go down. Sorry, Banner minion.
Yeah, Xmithie ended up smiting it, so did a lot of damage. Got it much lower.
Mid lane. In mid lane, yeah, just a quick rotation from Bjergsen and Hauntzer. And now again, they're just going to force them to come back over, and TL have just no good decision to make here. Bjergsen with the ulti as well, so even with Predator popped, TSM is going to take these turrets.
Yep, and they'd rather give up that last outer turret and fall back and defend these inhibitor turrets. They're more important, but that mid one took so much damage, and TL, like you said, they have that wave clear, but they don't have multiple people with that wave clear. Pole Belter is pretty much the one in charge, and Banner got buffed. You don't instantly clear those caster minions. You see the Anivia, even struggling, it takes a long time.
Yep, only one Anivia, unfortunately, for Team Liquid. So TSM will actually call off the push now that Baron has one off. Still pretty effective, 6 turrets to 1. As Team Liquid struggling to make ground in a game that they are now 11,000 gold behind in. And Gangplank's extra gold notwithstanding, that is a massive deficit for Team Liquid.
Here comes the rise.
Surprise! It's just Bjergsen. Impact now gonna be in a pretty unfair 1v2, rooted down probably forever, and goodbye Impact. Bjergsen able to get it.
And they'll push this top side as well as the bottom at the same time here. And just Doublelift clearing out this minion wave. TSM looking much cleaner.
Well, Haunter gonna get chased down, but no chase really coming as TSM, like you said, 3 men in the bot side. Pobelter probably enough to defend on his own, especially with Baron being gone, but Team Liquid still forced back up against the bricks of their own base.
And TSM find themselves with that 11,000 gold lead. This is a team that changed their roster coming in. They had gone to Worlds. They had won the NALCS last split. And then they still said, we need to make changes. Doublelift kicked to the roster. Now he's on TL. And the reason TSM did this is mostly for international success in the future. They struggled domestically so far this split. You see that 7-7 record at the top. But now they're finding their footing. They're able to take down TL, even up that head-to-head record, start pushing for playoffs. They are surging at the right time and saying that first game of the split, that's not what matters. Getting to playoffs matters. The late part of the split matters. Everybody said it. That's what really matters. TSM are showing.
And it's going to be a tough game for any team to play against TSM with this kind of deficit, but we'll certainly test the mettle of Team Liquid as TSM look to continue that pressure, especially in a minute 40 with Baron coming back up. Elder also on the way, but still a number of minutes before he shows up.
Yeah, it's calmed down a lot. Like you said, the Baron in a minute and 30 seconds.
TSM are just not a team that ever feel a real need to rush things.
Yeah, they don't force the whole bunch.
And why would you, given the situation, how well they've been playing these 3 lanes and spreading and pulling TL across this map. Just no need to do anything other than the right play at the right time. TSM have had a lot of practice, especially kind of with their core carries of Haunter and Bjergsen at split pushing around, at playing macro. Bjergsen's such a good Rise player, not just for his individual mechanics and damage output on the champion, but because he's so creative with that ultimate.
We talked about how Haunter is another carry for this team. He's been playing the Camille, the Gnar, even though everybody else is saying, hey, it's a tank meta. He Flame Horizoned Impact in the top lane. He's got 100 CS plus over this Cho'Gath. He's 2 levels up over him. And he's almost level 18, as you see in the bottom left-hand corner. And now he's going to get ganked.
Yeah, now he's in a 1v3. Doesn't know it yet, but now going to get some damage in onto Impact. It's Smith. He's going to say hello. Oh, no! They tried to do the combo, and they didn't click the buttons properly.
Ooh, you got to hit the R first on the Skarner. But even then, the orange might come out there.
Now I just want to. Now I'm sad I didn't get to see that interaction. I like the attempt, certainly, from Team Liquid, but Haunter's like, all right, well, you didn't kill me, so I'm just going to keep going.
Yeah, and he's becoming a monster.
But caught stunned forever. Sven on a killing spree. As now Bjergsen going to ride the rest of the team in. This is it. They're going to try and end the game. Doublelift forced to latch out, but he's still tagged by Brawl. Ragnarok, Mike Young just going to slaughter him as Bjergsen takes down Pobelter on the left-hand side. Team Liquid lose 3 in a heartbeat.
And TSM, they're going to start forcing this turret down. Remember, it is low.
And now it's dead, as they've got more than enough health to tank it up. Inhib going to go down in mid as well. Baron is back alive. Bjergsen has found Impact. He's just going to tie him up.
He's trying to get the wave.
Impact, he tried to flash. He grabs the wave, but they take him down. Bjergsen on a rampage, and TSM are still going.
That's still 50 seconds on Impact. TSM, if they have the damage, they can end the game.
Well, Mithy going to tank up these first few shots, but the wave is here. TSM are going to go for it here. Nexus turret 1 falls down. 14 seconds on Doublelift. 30 on Impact. As Xmithie going to try and fight him out. I like the attempt. Flay into the fountain is not enough to kill Haunter, and Mithy will protect his team to take it down. The Nexus will be claimed by TSM as they take down Liquid in the rematch.
A crucial victory for TSM. They needed to tie up that head-to-head. They now have 1-1 against Team Liquid, and they are even in the standings at an 8-7 apiece.
Like you said, TSM finding their rhythm, surging at the right time. A lot of teams, you know, have made lots of changes in 8.4, given how many changes were put into that patch. But TSM are a team that, ever since they found, I think, the formula that worked for them, they have stuck to it, right? Bjergsen, side lane pressure, global pressure, especially on the likes of Rise and Galio, is where he's shone. safe bottom lanes that scale well and can kind of play towards the strength of mid and late. And Hauntzer just back on carries and then just give MikeYeung something he can function on and make pressure. TSM's formula has been pretty obvious, but it's working out.
Exactly, looking in top shape right now. The fact that they're still having Hauntzer on carries, Bjergsen is playing pivot so he can go to other lanes. You talked about the Galio, banned away, he had played it as well. And the Rise, just using the Realm Warp to get into these fights and help Sven and Hauntzer scale into the game. It paid off in spades there.
And I don't think, again, we've given him maybe as much credit as he deserved, but MikeYeung, that was a game I think that was firmly on his shoulders, at least in the early game. He was doing great work in the early game to get the ganks happening, to apply the pressure, and then in mid to late game, just doing what all AD carries hate. Running at you as Olaf, like there's nothing you can do. You talked about gameplay ult being a problem. How about a moving gameplay ult that kills you faster?
Yeah, the fact that he was able to make it down there to the bottom lane, that's one of those things that kind of is a result of less vision in the game. You can't track the Olaf. He gets to just Predator run at you in the middle of the lane. And he picked the right targets too. He played them correctly, wasn't juked out by the Lantern, and then that really set it up. They really made it so that Olay and Doublelift couldn't really get much in this game, despite picking the Varus for themselves in that first pick spot for TL.
And then I guess it's a question that will maybe take some time to answer, but for me, it's just, TSM looking good when they play their style, but what happens when they have to adapt?
Yeah, but right now, they don't have to adapt.
Certainly not.
They're still playing that same style.
Not Investor One's looking just fine as we're going to send it over to Ovally and TSM's Rune Mage in the mid lane.
Thanks, guys. Bjergsen, congratulations on that victory against Team Liquid. How does it feel to get revenge for the first match of the split?
It feels really good because I knew it was a win that Doublelift really wanted to have and a win that I really did not want him to have. But I knew that the beginning of the split was going to be rough for us and that this second time around was going to be a better match for us, and it did show.
And I mean, it looks like you guys have really improved over the split, kind of speaking to that TSM mentality of making playoffs. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about how does this version of TSM that played today compare to the TSM that we saw day one?
Oh man, it's a lot better. I think the biggest thing was just figuring out how exactly we want to communicate, who wants to say certain things. In the beginning, everyone was kind of playing based off intuition and also playing based on how they worked in their previous teams and what their roles were in their previous teams. But once you bring new players together, you have to refigure out all those roles and who's going to say certain things. And it felt like as soon as we addressed that, that's when we started getting cleaner and cleaner wins.
Is there maybe anyone on your team that you want to maybe acknowledge their progress, who you think made some excellent strides this split?
I think Mike is the most obvious one because I feel like he had the least amount of experience before, so he also had the most possibility to learn, and he did show up and he really did learn. I was surprised to see how he could just pick up a champion like Olaf, who recently became a more popular pick, and just crush on it so fast. He is really confident when he plays, and we're just trying to allow him to kind of play the MikeYeung style. And I think that this new patch with Red Smite, Blue Smite junglers, it's really the MikeYeung patch.
I'm glad to hear that about him. Will you guys play against Cloud9 and you against Jensen tomorrow? What are your thoughts going into that match?
It's not going to be easy. I think that the game is so team-based. I don't really think about this Jensen and I rivalry or storyline really anymore. I think last time they really just crushed us on a team level, even though I managed to create some early leads. So it's just going to come down to team play, just like most games are right now. But hopefully I'll contribute more to my team than Jensen will.
Well, Bjergsen, congratulations again on your victory, and I wish you the best of luck tomorrow. For more on that game, let's hear from the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Ovally. TSM picking up the victory, getting revenge over Team Liquid for handing them the first loss of the season. Moving to 8-8 now, tied in the standings as well. I mean, that's a pretty picture to look at moving towards those last 3 games of the season.
Yeah, man, and the perfect answer to the day one loss that they had to Liquid, where Liquid beat them in the very fast, snowbally Liquid way, and then TSM slowly had an advantage and kind of grinded them down to what was a very solid win, even if it was a lot slower. But that's the way TSM wants to win, I think.
All right, that said, taking a look at Champion Select, we did see, for example, the Anivia coming through for Team Liquid. Heard some thoughts from Steve himself on the lounge stream as to why this is coming out. Tier is a strong item. But I want to get your thoughts on the compositions put together by both these teams.
The way that they got to the Anivia pick is what's interesting to me, not the pick itself, because TSM took GP with their last pick in the first draft phase
Blinded it.
which is something you don't see that much anymore. It's still susceptible to a lot of counters. You talk about Gnar, Camille's, Vlad's, take your pick, beat it up somehow, but you're playing against Impact, who doesn't really do that. And when you combine the GP with the Ryze first pick and no solo laners taken by TL, they can only draft one and then the other one will get banned out.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and I liked how TSM kind of called Team Liquid on this, because we've seen Impact play Camille and Vladimir, and Team Liquid hasn't looked good. So they're saying we must put him on a tank. And then they needed to actually make sure he was on at least a serviceable tank against the Gangplank. Otherwise, they'd be hitting ban phase 2. And that then also hurt Pobelter. So, like, pretty much by TSM picking Gangplank there, they forced 2 matchups to be worse for Team Liquid.
All right, so that's very intelligent, analysis done by TSM to know that they could force Team Liquid into that position. By the same token, this is where Impact as a player is hindering his team if he's not giving them the option to say, hey, when they pick GP, I'll happily play a Camille into it.
And it results in the in-game strategy being a little bit questionable to me, because it's fine to try and hold down a GP in a carry versus carry matchup or one of the snowballier ones, but the kill with a Cho'Gath isn't going to result in too much, and as well as the fact that TSM was playing around the weaker early game was a huge deal.
Yeah, and then you'd think that TL would want to play around the bottom side, because when their bottom side doesn't win, they lose the game. And here, after all of the shenanigans had happened top lane, Mike Young just passed down bottom with Predator gank on Olaf, and they, even though it wasn't the cleanest kill, it had to use Ven's flash, that gives them what they needed to break that bottom turret open.
Right.
And from there, it felt like TSM didn't really relent the pressure, even if Team Liquid got a few mountain picks.
Yeah, they were able to find a couple pickoffs on TL's side, but then this Dragon that they do shows that they're not super coordinated in what they want. So Impact kind of ends up in the middle of the team, still running forward, gets his Braum passive stacked. He's the only one, the only tank in the front, so it's very easy for the 3-4 range members of TSM to focus them down. And then their vision control around Baron was perfect here. They actually find that pick off, and this is what's going to be the game-winning fight for them. Baron's not even up yet, and they find that kill onto Smithy.
So here's my question to you guys. Do you believe that this is a continuation of the steady climb for TSM?
I think it is, and I also think it's a
Beautiful gold
continuation
draft.
of what's been happening with Team Liquid, where there are so many really good top laners in the league that can play carry matchups. And even though this is more of a tank patch, reaching back in time a little bit to go for the nerfed Gangplank, we've now seen a couple top laners do, and they're showing it to still be viable. So if teams continue to use this as a blueprint to fight Team Liquid, it's pretty worrying for them.
The problem with GP was that he always got countered, but now that tanks are more prominent, GP was always fine into tanks.
Yeah.
They could kill him once or twice with their better gank setup, but there was never a point where it's like, oh god, now GP's screwed in the side lane the whole game, which you sometimes hit with the carry versus carry matchups. So yeah, take the GP, make him play a tank into it, that's fine. They still got their Ezreal Braum lane. Like, every single game for TSM, it feels like we're seeing Sven on Ezreal, and they keep taking bot turret first, which is really, really impressive.
I think that was his 8th Ezreal game.
Yeah, it's not a pressure lane, and yet they always find ways to win the lane.
Yeah, it's definitely not over for Team Liquid in the sense that this, yes, it's a tough loss to stomach, and they are having a struggling second half, but very much still in position to snag a playoff spot. On the side of TSM, though, in talking to Bjergsen there, he pointed out Mike Young as being one of the major improvements over the split in terms of growth for a player. What is our feeling there of his performance and how he fits into this Mike Jungle meta?
I applaud TSM for so publicly defending Mike Young.
It's
constantly.
the Mike Young patch.
Like, they have been saying Mike Young, like, oh, Mike Young meta, oh, Mike Young carry, Mike Young's finally smurfing for like 2 months. And it's good to give him the positive reinforcement, but I take it with a little bit of a grain of salt. Like, he played really well this game, but he has had a very spotty split.
Yeah, it's been the case where they keep trying to push, like, this is the patch for Mike Young. And maybe this time it finally is, with a little bit more skirmishing champions, a little bit less vision control, more aggressive smites. Maybe, but I want to see a couple games in a row.
As a refresher, we're going to pull the standings up just because with this victory here, both Optic and FlyQuest have been eliminated from playoff contention. So still 3 spots remaining to be snagged, with 5 teams in contention for those spots.
Yeah, and technically CLG.
I knew you were going there.
Could happen with Team Liquid or
just keep saying it, man.
TSM.
Will it? Will it?
No, it will not.
It's going to happen, guys.
It's gonna happen. All right, we've got one more game before we call it a day. 100 Thieves versus Golden Guardians is coming up next after the break.